What's up, y'all? It's Treasur Necole, your favorite Scorpio, and you are tuned into another episode of Inside the Chess Podcast. As you all know, that song you just heard is the official theme song of the podcast. The music video is out. It's streaming on all platforms. Y'all already know y'all can get it. Y'all can watch it just like you can do here. I'm still taking a breath from our last episode, guys, when we talked about freeing ourselves. Episode 5. For those of you who are just tuning in, and this is the first episode that you are witnessing the ITC podcast, we welcome you. You are officially a chessmate, right? Because you're here and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and we deal with the matters of the heart here in a fun way where we can get into the music, we can get into the spirituality of things, and you already know we're getting inside the heart, man. So, last week, we talked about freeing yourself. It's an R&B title. Of course, y'all know that's Fantasia's title. And actually, I did 2 Fantasia titles in a row. So we had a good run. We had a good run with the American Idol, right? If you know, you know. But this week, guys, the episode is called Foolish. The episode is called Foolish. Foolish is a song by one of my favorite songwriters. So it's not technically my favorite song, but it is from one of my favorite songwriters, which is Ashanti. Man, let me just tap in with my creators right now, with my artists when it comes to R&B. If you grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s especially, you know the impact Ashanti had, along with the Aaliyahs and the Sierras of that time. That was a whole era, right? And it's crazy because when we talk about being foolish, most of the time we associate that with being in love, right? Because we can even go even deeper with, I don't know if I have any movie buffs that watch my show, but if you guys know that old Lorenz Tate classic with Vivica Fox, Halle Berry, called Why Do Fools Fall in Love? Why Do Fools Fall in Love? And it was about a singer, Frankie Lyman, and he had like 3 wives, and they all had like a different story of how they fell in love. And spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, the R&B singer, or the singer, had passed away, and they were trying to figure out who was going to get his money in the end based on the timelines of their relationship, right? So the movie is definitely crazy, but when I go back and I watch old films like that, it kind of ignites a topic of, if being foolish is associated with being in love, then is there a such thing as, being smart and in love, right? Like, what makes you... So, just rewinding back a little bit, a lot of times people say what makes you a fool in love, right, is like, because when you're in love, it's like you kind of only see what you want to see. You kind of hear what you want to hear, right? And even if it's something that turns into like a red flag, or if it's something that you may not be used to experiencing, you kind of, because of what you feel, because of what you see going into the future, you kind of sometimes ignore those things, right? And then when they start to affect you, maybe those red flags or those flaws that you noticed in the beginning, you kind of have that I told you so moment to yourself, like, oh yeah, maybe I should have nipped that in the bud to begin with. But like I said, when you're in love, sometimes things go in slow motion, sometimes things move crazy fast. It all just depends on your individual experience. So, I want to engage the audience, of course, always. I never want to go too long without asking y'all a question based on what we're talking about. Like, is there a true all-around definition of what it means to even be in love, period, right? Because there's experiences, right, when we talk about even being smart in love. You're smart in love if you're with somebody that respects you, if you're with somebody that treats you the way that you're supposed to be treated, or and they say you stupid in love when you deal with somebody who mistreats you or disrespects you and things like that. But sometimes we kind of, I'm kind of pausing real quick because I'm thinking of this excerpt that I watched on this other podcast, and they say sometimes you lose your drip when you're in love, right? Sometimes you you drown your drip when you're in love because you kind of trying to compensate for the other person that you're with, or depending on the security that person has within themselves, you kind of moving different or whatever. Like, it takes a lot to be in love with someone and still know how to be yourself fully, right? And in this episode, I kind of want to break away from us saying, oh, we're fools in love or we're stupid in love, and kind of see what it takes to be wise in love, to know what love is enough to be confident to step in it, because love is a scary thing. Love is a scary thing. And I don't think that I could have a podcast dealing with the matters of the heart if I didn't solely focus in on that particular emotion that we all experience one way or another. So, chessmates, I want to know, what does it mean to you to be foolish in love, or to be caught up just in the whole idea of it, in the whole, because it's even certain experiences, right, where you meet people where they're in love with the idea of it, but they never find themselves in it, right? Because it's something that they want, right? It's something everybody wants, but sometimes we're scared to even know who we are in that space, right? So I want us to figure out who we are in that space. I want us to be vulnerable enough to kind of see ourselves in different lights of when our feelings do get past that friendship level, or that platonic level. I really want to dive into what that looks like for us. So, chessmates, this is the part of the date where we have opened the door, we are invited in, and we're trying to see what it is that we do next, what the vibe calls for next, right? And this is the episode before the season finale, right? So it's pretty special. Like, going closer towards that season finale, it always feels even more and more special, because I just feel like we learn so much about ourselves every time we come in this space, and that's what it's for. That's what it's for. So, as y'all know, we coming not only from a relationship level, but we also coming from that spirituality level. And when we come back, you guys, we're going to get deeper on what the levels are depending on even our zodiac signs and we're going to get into that personal story time, right? So I want you guys to enjoy this commercial that's coming up. When we come back, we're going to dive in just a little bit deeper on what it means to be a fool in love or to be smart in love. Let's find out which one we are on Inside the Chest.
Somebody think this is a long night. Oh, I show this to the flow light up. He won't love, I just want more life. She'll always see me as a two-type.
What's up, y'all? It's Treasur Necole, your favorite Scorpio, and we are back. Episode 6, entitled Foolish, the R&B classic by Miss Ashanti, who they did label as the princess of hip-hop and R&B at the time. I just want to know, for fun, guys, who do you guys consider the princess or the queen or the king or the prince of R&B? I definitely want you to put that in the comments. I want to know. I know certain conversations that I've heard. Some people have said R. Kelly. Some people have said Usher. Some people have said Beyonce. I want to know what you guys think, because I want to know what y'all listen to, because in the background, when you hear these instrumentals, these are actual beats from my actual songs that are streaming out on actual platforms. So it's a lot of actuals in there, right? But I say that to say, knowing what you guys like will let me know how to curate the vibe moving forward. Again, like, this is our show, not just mine. So you know how we do it. It's about that time that we get into the spiritual aspect when it comes to our intelligence in and out of love, right? Do you guys think that our signs have something to do with the way that we love or the way that we see love or interpret love? I know, as you guys, as I always say every episode, you know, I'm a Scorpio, and they consider, you know, Scorpios being dangerously emotional, possessive, obsessive, all those ifs, right? But they also see them as being passionate and intense and, you know, sexual and things like that, right? But then I go towards my rising sign, which is Gemini, right? And that kind of goes into like the duality, right? The duality, the multiple personalities. I think in my previous episodes, I had talked about the different versions of ourselves. Or actually, in my upcoming episodes, I talk about the different versions of yourself, how one version of you could be in love with someone or be attracted to someone, while another version of you may not be in that headspace to even be entertaining love, you know. And I think with me being a Gemini, I feel like, well, for my rising sign to be a Gemini. And I just feel like that part of me kind of incorporates what personally how I love, because there will be times where I would be in a relationship and there were certain things that maybe I liked or I didn't like, or I saw and I learned, and maybe I wanted to discuss it with that other person to maybe see if we can like modify it, you know, based on just how I feel about it. And then that same situation could happen 2 months later, and I could have went through a whole bunch of stuff or kind of experienced a whole bunch of stuff, and it not bother me anymore. It not be a thing that has a super negative effect on me, right? Because that just all depends on who we grow to be, and that's what the rising sign is all about. Who we are ascending, who are we rising up to be. And so I never know what it's going to be with that Gemini. And those who are Geminis, y'all definitely know what I mean when I say that. And then my moon is a Sagittarius. Now, the moon sign, I will admit, I don't study as much as I do the sun and the rising. But I think my moon sign is what saves me. It's what saves me from being a complete crazy person. It kind of gives me that small balance, just as far as when they say Sagittarius are kind of have like that, I don't know, kind of like that nonchalant personality maybe. I think when I incorporate that, when I replace that feeling with when I'm feeling kind of emotional and I want to snap, it kind of saves a lot of situations from going left. So I'm not an expert at love, y'all. Not even the least bit, right? But I love it. I love to feel it. I love to be in it. I love to learn from it. All things, because I think it's what makes the world go round, right? So as far as like personal story time, I know for me, and just going back to being foolish in love and smart in love, I think that also comes from what we see growing up, right? I know personally for me, I came from a divorced household, right? And I think my parents were separated for 11 years before they got divorced officially, if I'm not mistaken. But there were so many things that happened within that time period that makes you kind of fearful of love, right? Or that kind of makes you feel like you can never fully move on, right? Because you're tied to something so close, and maybe you guys created something like a child or or business or anything like that makes it hard to separate, right? And I think that kind of alters our intelligence too when it comes to, should I continue to still love this person? How do I fall out of love with this person and still be in love with what we created together, right? So it's just a whole bunch of things that goes into that. And then for inquiring minds, when we talk about being in love, chessmates, I want to know, are you in love? Are you in love? And if you are, what's it like, right? I definitely like share it with our listeners, because there's so many people who feel like they maybe haven't experienced it or maybe feel skeptical because of what they hear about. It's like almost something that it's almost like a crazy myth, right? But you guys are here today because you have some of the same questions I have. And even going into the stages of love with, okay, yeah, I'm smart. It's like you're smarter when you're not in love, because you're trying to figure out if that person is somebody that you should take that step with. Because once you become vulnerable, you kind of put your trust in that person, like catch you when you slipping on a mental level, on an emotional level, right? So it's definitely a lot to go into it. And even when you hear the song by Ashanti, guys, and she talks about, my days are cold without you, but I'm hurting while I'm with you. It's like you can be with the person and feel good and feel bad at the same time. And that can kind of fuck with your mind too, right? So our goal here today and what we're trying to do is trying to figure out a way to be wise no matter how we feel inside, right? Being able to just be smart enough to navigate so that we don't hurt the other person and we don't hurt ourselves in the process. So, going even more deeper into the spiritual, I know last episode I kind of was telling you guys that, my wisdom, it comes from the Most High, the G-O-D, right? And that's not just fluff. That's not just something that I say because it sounds right. Guys, that to me is one of the main ingredients when it comes to love. Now, I think that's the only way you can just be 100% full in love, when you don't put the spiritual aspect of God in it, right? And then, we have those underlying layers of, can God be involved in a love that I know that he may not agree with, or I know that he may not be proud of, or he may be disappointed with? And that is an answer maybe we find within the studies of our own spirituality and our own beliefs. But when I think about it, it's so crazy, because I used to always say to myself, when I was younger, it's like, it's only one thing that's keeping me out of heaven, right? Anything else, I'm good, right? And it's like, we have these thoughts about what it means to be perfect and what it means to be good enough to be even loved by God. Forget being loved by people, even when it comes to being loved by God, and just trying to understand what it is that we need in order to be able to receive that love, right? So we are super inside the chest right now, y'all. Y'all got me like super deep into the rabbit hole. I kind of always laugh at myself, because when I get excited about these things, or I start to think about these things in the depth that I do, it's almost like I'm like, it's like a waterfall full of questions and answers that I know that only me and you will be able to find out. So just diving deeper into that spiritual aspect, guys, forgetting about the love of people and zoning into the love of God, right? And then we think about remember when I talked about, and I said it's only one thing keeping me out of heaven, right? And I think if you guys tune into episode 4, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say that. But even when we correlate the realms past life entering into like another transition, like where we leave our flesh here and we go somewhere else, right? Do we still experience that love in those spaces, right? So it gets so freaking deep. It gets so deep. Even when we now, and I'm just thinking about this just on a surface level. I was having a conversation with my mom actually, and it was about, bless me. It was, I know you guys said it. So thank you. I know you guys said it. And we were just talking about just like, being faithful and relationships and things like that. And I want to know, guys, are we foolish to think as human beings, right? We can be fully committed to one person. So this goes into being with multiple people, or having some of the same feelings for multiple people. I personally don't think that you could have the same exact feeling for the same person, right? It's always going to be something different, even if it's like a decimal of something different, right? But I do believe that there could be feelings that can be strong for two different people, and they be equally strong, right? So I just think it's levels to it. And I always wonder, like, and this is where, I kind of go back to talking to you chessmates, like, are we foolish to believe that we can we can be just with one person? I really want to know you guys' take just on even the fact of open relationships and polygamy and things like that, and those people that say, no, I'm enough. Well, we're not talking about not being enough, because personally I feel like we're all enough. We're all enough to be loved by one person. But I think you just have to get with another person who feels strong about monogamy in the way that you do for it to work. I don't think you can get with somebody who believes that they can be with multiple people and expect them to only be with you, right? So that's just a small gem, just kind of taking away the ignorance when it comes to love and like and lust and all those big L words, right? But y'all know how we do. I'm gonna take one last break, and y'all know when we come back, I got to touch on the music. I have to. Y'all know I'm an R&B singer. Y'all know that album is coming. Y'all know these videos are coming. So I want you all to just be ready for the ultimate takeoff when it comes to what we're doing with the podcast in correlation with what we're doing with the music. And don't forget to email me at insidethechesspodcast@gmail.com, and you send me your music and you send me your work, and maybe on the upcoming episodes you'll hear it here on Inside the Chess Podcast.
Spent all night in my head. Don't know if you're free or you're busy. Past made your heart half dead. Breathe life in this bed when you're with me.
So that commercial that you guys just watched, like I said, y'all, we are giving y'all music here. We giving you podcasts. We are giving you modeling pictures. I mean, we just giving you content. This is just a place where you can get content. It's like going into Instagram and going into Twitter and knowing what it is that you want to see and what you're looking for. When you come here, you know exactly what it is that you gonna see and what you're looking for is gonna be some insight, deep conversations. It's gonna be some great music, and most of all, it's gonna be a learning experience for not just me, but for both of us, right? Going back into our intelligence and love. I personally think that the way that we even look at love falls on what it is that we listen to on a daily basis. I would bet that if I were to ask somebody who listens to Future, for example, all day, every day, and y'all know Future, very toxic Scorpio Future. But I love Future. I listen to him in the gym. I listen to him wherever. I love Future. But I can bet that if I ask somebody who consumes Future, their perception of love, it will be different from if I ask somebody who listens to Sam Cooke, right? For those of you who don't know, Sam Cooke is a singer from back in the day. But let me tell you something. His voice sounds like love. If love was a voice, it would be Sam Cooke, right? But my point is, what we consume, what we listen to, what we let into our information portals, which is what I call our ears and our eyes, that is kind of what we reflect on, what we reflect in our behaviors in our everyday lives, right? Just a personal observation on my end. As I always remind you guys, I grew up in the church, right? But as far as my career, I chose to sing secular music. Even though my foundation, I had a gospel foundation. But I can definitely tell you that within the company of both places, I can tell you that there was a difference of what love looked like, based on, what we were consuming. If you're consuming praise and worship versus, twerking and heartbreaks, obviously you're going to have two different ways of how you look at things. And I think that's kind of where that duality kind of comes in again. And whereas to somebody will ask you or ask me, what's your type? What do you like? And your answer can truly be based off of the energy of the person. Some people will have a specific physical type. They'll say, oh, I like this, or oh, I like that, or things like that, right? But there are certain situations where you'll find someone, you'll ask them their type, and they'll go based off of, well, you'll know if you're my type or not, right? Because I'll let you know if I like you, right? And that'll be the answer to somebody who may just depend on that energy, depend on what they feel when they experience the person, right? But I believe in order to truly know what love is, you have to obtain a certain amount of fearlessness, which means that you are going to make mistakes, which meaning that you are going to appear foolish in some situations, right? So I just want to normalize who we are when we're in that deep space. We often hear the term that ignorance is bliss, right? To not know something. If you don't, and knowledge is grief, right? If you know something, it weighs you down. It gives you like a guilty feeling, or makes you feel like you should do something, right? But if you don't know it and you don't care to find out, you won't have like that weight on your shoulders, right? And I think the question comes up, is a fool happier in love? Like, are fools happier in love because they choose to, like, there's a song by Mario Winans that goes, I don't want to know if you're playing me, keep it on the low, 'cause my heart can't take it anymore. And if you're creeping, please don't let it show. Oh, baby, I don't want to know. Right? And so when I listen to that song, I think about, okay, that song is basically saying that I'm happy with just not knowing whether you're doing it or not. I don't want to know it, whether you're fully being committed to me, whether you are being faithful to me, whether you are being honest with me, as long as you are with me. And when you are with me, we are experiencing a certain kind of love. I feel like sometimes that's good enough for some people, right? But I want to know, audience, is that good enough for you? Is that good enough for you? As we kind of get to the bottom of things, I even think about like the last time I was a fool, or the last time, because you'll look back at someone's like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I acted like that, right? And that's because I feel like love is such an outer body experience. And you guys will hear more as far as like my personal escapades when it comes to love on my album Girl's Best Friend, which will be dropping this fall. You guys will hear just the different nuances of what it feels to just be double dutching with an emotion like that. Like I told you guys, the season finale is on the way. And let me tell y'all something about the next episode, right? For those of you who have watched any of the episodes, whether it's just this one or you've watched all of them, I want you to tell a friend specifically about what we're doing on the next episode, which is the season finale of season 1, because we made it. We made it, right? It's like when you're running and you can see the finish line and you know it's there and you see yourself running towards it, and all you can think about is how you're going to make it better. And that's kind of the stage that I'm at now, guys. I'm kind of at the stage where I know how we listen. I'm learning how we listen. I'm learning how we soak in the information. So just like when you're on a date with someone and you're talking to them in a more intimate setting, whether it be from the restaurant to the house, or maybe from a loud party to a quiet patio, you realize when you're talking to that person, that body language that they're giving you, those kind of signals that they're giving you, you're learning how to speak to them. You're learning how to, treat and talk to them. So that's what I'm kind of trying to learn how to do. I'm kind of trying to learn how to be smart with you, because I am surely in love with this podcast. I am in love with our interactions, and it only gets better from here, right? So, season finale next week. I want you all to tell a friend, share, like, comment. We are going to be doing some great things. The commercials, the intros, our outros, anything that you see in this window of time, guys, it is available for us to collaborate. It is available for us to, you seeing the show and being like, hey, commenting and saying, hey, I want to hear this, or can you touch on this next time you talk about a certain subject again? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. We're going to do things just the way that you guys want to see them and you guys want to hear them. And I just cannot wait. So the bottom line question is, are we fools in love? Do we have to be fools to be in love? Can we be smart in love? Is there wisdom in love? And the answer is, you have to fall in love first and let me know, right? You let me know. You come back to this episode and you let me know. If you're already in love, you comment on this episode and you tell me. And if you're looking for love, you interact with us and you DM us and you let us know what it is and what it's going to take to get you to that level. And inside the chest, we do our best to help you be the best version of yourself. So come on back for our season finale. I cannot stress that enough. Shout out to 290 Mo Podcast, the house of this amazing show. Shout out to everybody who is a part of what it is that we're doing, from the backgrounds that you see, guys, from the production that you hear. It is not just me by a long shot. And so I'm happy. And I can't wait to see where we go from here on Inside the Chess Podcast.